MOS, the high-yield time-locked deposit. MOS is a fully functional smart contract that rewards users with interest when they locked up their coin as stake, something similar to a fixed deposit in the bank. MOS is specifically designed to give out bigger and higher interests to our community members than anything the banks offer. Introducing MOS Endurance Payout. The longer period you stake, the higher the percentage of interest you shall gain. When you stake your MOS, the MOS Smart Contract will reward your interest in the form of more MOS directly to you. The longer time length you stake, or better known as setting aside your MOS for a longer period of time, the greater interests payout you get. This is the endurance payout, the rewards for your discipline and patience. Meanwhile, MOS is just like other cryptocurrencies. Its price fluctuates or rises by the supply and demand of the coin and exchanges. These two factors combine together to make MOS into the most extraordinary high-yield time-locked deposit, an actual decentralized financial product. MOS's design has a set of rules on how many MOS to be released as supply into the market. But when more users in the community stake MOS for the rewards, that means the supply will decrease drastically in the market. As more people buy MOS to stake for the interests, this spikes up the demand for MOS. When the demand for MOS outweighs the supply, MOS's value will eventually pump up, and the stakers will be rewarded with the fastest growing assets in value. The moment they end their long-term stake, they could realize that their asset had grown by multiple digits. MOS Staking Strategy. Some people instinctually start staking their MOS for a random period between a few months to years. While this is great for the endurance payout and asset growth, there's an even better staking strategy. A carefully planned staking strategy can turn your stakes into infinite income. Let's say if you staked for 730 days, 2 years, with 1 million MOS as your principal and 500,000 MOS as the estimate interests. When your stake due is met on day 730, you will gain your principal plus interest of a total of 1,500,000 MOS by ending the specific date that has due. However, you could be missing out on the opportunity for MOS potential value growth and also the long-term income once the stake is ended. A staking strategy means you stake for a shorter period of time, be it months or years, selling off the interests gained and restake your MOS principals. In other words, by having a staking strategy, such as restaking your MOS every year, you will receive an interests from 7.8% to 780% every year as an infinite source of income to support your lifestyle, allowing you to enjoy the fruits of your investment earnings every year, and also the maximum value of your investment that is in the longest stakes. Adding on with the growth of value in MOS, aside from the interests you made through staking, the asset's value you hold could be up by multiple digits. Having to understand MOS staking design, you can set yourself up to gain a perpetual passive income from MOS. This is like planting an orchard of orange trees. Orange trees are designed to take time to fully mature before they yield significant amounts of produce. MOS was designed to produce in much the same way. Could you imagine trying to live on a few young orange trees that only just started producing a fraction of their full potential? You might see significant growth or yield at the early stage, but it will be impossible to enjoy the fruits of your labor for years to come. But what if you employed a longer-term plan in the development of your orange orchard? What if you plant a new crop each year for years 1 to 18 by repeating the process every year after? With this, you will have never-ending supply for generations. Can you imagine how much produce you may get from 10 to 18th year old trees? This is how MOS staking works. If you build a staking plan, just like planting an orange orchard, you can enjoy the maximum value of your investments for the years to come. setting stakes to mature between 1 to 18 years, then you can enjoy the fruits of your investments in between each stake maturity. Imagine if Bitcoin is designed in this way. All those who sold off Bitcoin for a few cents in their early years, they are missing out on 6 million time mad gains with Bitcoin priced at $64,000 this year in 2021. If there is a staking plan for Bitcoin, maybe more investors would not sell off their Bitcoin, but use it for staking instead and without missing their 6 million time gains. In comparison, the MOS supply and demand economics will cause MOS value to appreciate with way lesser selling pressure. Staking MOS gives you a long-term saving and massive earning potential, made possible by MOS, the high-yield time-locked deposit. Be an early adopter today. TheMOS.io